Picture this. You get home from work. It's cold, the heater is on, and you sit down for the night. A few minutes later, your head starts to hurt. Not badly, just enough to notice. You assume you're tired. That's the first mistake, because somewhere nearby, fuel is burning badly. Maybe it's a furnace. Maybe it's a blocked vent. Maybe it's an old heater that should have been checked months ago. When fuel burns without enough oxygen, it can produce carbon monoxide. You don't smell it. You don't see it. You don't taste it. It doesn't burn your throat or make your eyes water, so your body gets no warning. Oh, hey there. Today we're talking about carbon monoxide poisoning, one of the easiest ways for a normal room to become dangerous without looking dangerous. And the main thing to understand is simple. Carbon monoxide doesn't make you panic. It makes you feel sick, tired, and confused. That's what makes it dangerous. At first, your lungs are still working normally. You breathe in. You breathe out. Nothing feels blocked. You're not choking. You're not coughing. You're not gasping for air. That's because the problem isn't really in your lungs. The problem starts after carbon monoxide moves from your lungs into your blood. Your blood normally carries oxygen using a protein called hemoglobin. Oxygen attaches to hemoglobin in your red blood cells, then gets delivered to your brain, heart, muscles, and organs. Carbon monoxide gets in the way. It attaches to hemoglobin much more strongly than oxygen does. So instead of carrying oxygen, more of your hemoglobin starts carrying carbon monoxide. That creates carboxyhemoglobin. Bad name. Worse situation. Now your lungs are still taking in air. Your heart is still pumping blood. But your blood is getting worse at delivering oxygen. So you're not dying because the room has no air. You're dying because your blood can't use the air properly. And it gets worse. Carbon monoxide doesn't only take oxygen's place. It also makes the remaining oxygen harder to release into your tissues. So even the oxygen that does get carried around is not being delivered as well as it should be. That means your oxygen system is failing in two directions. Less oxygen gets carried, and the oxygen that is carried becomes harder for your cells to access. In other words, your lungs are doing their part, but the delivery system is broken. Your body is ordering oxygen. Your blood is showing up with the wrong package. Extremely bad customer service. 1 star. Would not inhale again. This is why carbon monoxide poisoning feels so confusing. If you were choking, the problem would be obvious. No air gets in. Your body panics. You fight for oxygen. With carbon monoxide, air still gets in. Your chest still moves. Your breathing can look normal. But inside the bloodstream, the transport system is being corrupted. So your body is in danger before your brain fully understands that there is danger. The first major organ to complain is your brain. Your brain needs a lot of oxygen. For an organ that still lets you forget why you opened the fridge, it is extremely demanding. When it doesn't get enough oxygen, it doesn't immediately send you a clean warning message saying, "Hello, carbon monoxide poisoning. Please leave." That would be useful. It does not do that. Instead, you get vague symptoms: headache, dizziness, weakness, nausea, chest discomfort, confusion, sleepiness. These symptoms are common in carbon monoxide poisoning, and they're also why people miss it. They can look like the flu, food poisoning, stress, exhaustion, a migraine, alcohol, or just a bad night. So you don't think, "I'm being poisoned." You think, "I should sit down," or "I need water," or "I should sleep." That's the problem. Those are normal responses to feeling sick. But in this case, they keep you in the exposure, and the longer you stay exposed, the more carbon monoxide gets into your blood, more hemoglobin gets occupied, less oxygen reaches your brain. Then your thinking gets worse. This is where carbon monoxide becomes especially dangerous. It makes you worse at solving the problem it created. At first, that impairment is small. You feel a little slower. You read something and it doesn't stick. You stand up and feel unsteady. You forget what you were about to do. You know something feels off, but the thought doesn't become urgent. And that matters, because escaping requires a working brain. You need to notice the problem. Decide it's serious. Stand up. Leave. Call for help. Those steps sound easy when your brain is normal. They are not easy when your brain is oxygen-starved. This is not about being smart or stupid. A smart person with an oxygen-starved brain can still make a dumb decision. That's the whole issue. The decision-making system is part of what's being poisoned. So instead of leaving, you may sit back down. Not because you want to die, because rest feels like the correct decision. Carbon monoxide doesn't have to overpower you. It just has to make rest feel reasonable. As exposure continues, your body tries to compensate. Your breathing may get faster. Your heart rate may increase. Your body is trying to deliver more oxygen. But the issue is not effort. The issue is transport. Your heart can pump faster, but if the blood is carrying too much carbon monoxide, faster pumping doesn't solve the oxygen problem. That's like delivering packages faster to the wrong address. Confident. Still useless. Now your brain and heart are both under stress. Your brain is losing function. Your heart is working harder while also getting less oxygen. Your coordination gets worse. Your vision may blur. Your muscles feel heavy. Your thoughts become slower and less organized. This is usually the stage where you might realize something is genuinely wrong. But realizing something is wrong is not enough. You need to act. And acting is exactly what is becoming harder. The frontal part of your brain helps with planning, attention, judgment, and impulse control. Basically, it's the part that says, stop, think, do the correct thing. When your brain is not getting enough oxygen, that system gets worse, so your thinking becomes less organized, your attention drifts, your memory gets unreliable. You might start doing small, pointless things instead of the obvious thing. Check your phone, sit down, stand up, forget why you stood up, try to read something, fail to process it, look around, still not leave. Your body is asking for help, but it is asking through symptoms that look boring, and boring symptoms do not trigger emergency behavior. A headache does not feel like a gas leak. Nausea does not feel like a broken furnace. Sleepiness does not feel like your blood chemistry is being hijacked. That mismatch is why the situation is so dangerous. The cause is serious. The symptoms feel ordinary, and the ordinary explanation keeps you in the room. As more oxygen delivery fails, the symptoms get harder to ignore. Weakness becomes heavier. Dizziness becomes more obvious. Your balance becomes worse. Your chest may feel uncomfortable. Your breathing may feel wrong, but not in a clean way. More like your body is asking for more air, even though air is already moving. That's because the body is not measuring only breathing. It is reacting to oxygen delivery. And delivery is failing. At this point, fear still may not hit the way you expect. That sounds strange, but it makes sense. Fear takes processing power. Panic takes a brain that understands the situation clearly enough to react to it. Carbon monoxide interferes with that. So instead of panic, you may feel foggy, weak, sleepy, or strangely calm. Not peaceful, just impaired. That is a big difference. Peaceful means everything is okay. Impaired means your brain is losing the ability to care properly. You may still be awake. You may still be breathing. You may still be able to move a little. But your brain is becoming a worse pilot every minute. And unfortunately, it is still the pilot. If exposure continues, you can reach the point where standing becomes difficult. Then walking becomes difficult. Then staying awake becomes difficult. Your body may feel too heavy. Your thoughts may come in fragments. You may know you should do something, but the action never starts. That delay is not harmless. Every minute you stay exposed increases the dose. More carbon monoxide enters the blood. More oxygen transport fails. The brain gets worse. Then the delay gets worse. It is a feedback loop. Exposure creates confusion. Confusion creates delay. Delay creates more exposure. Very simple, very bad. Eventually, you may lose consciousness. Once that happens, the situation changes. Before unconsciousness, there was still some chance of action. After unconsciousness, there is no decision-making left. No, I should leave. No, I should call someone. No, something is wrong. Your body is now running without you. Severe carbon monoxide poisoning can cause altered mental status, loss of consciousness, coma, dangerous heart rhythm problems, and death. While unconscious, the oxygen problem keeps getting worse unless the exposure stops. Brain cells need oxygen continuously. Heart muscle needs oxygen continuously. Without enough oxygen delivery, cells start failing. The brain is especially vulnerable because it uses so much oxygen and does not tolerate oxygen deprivation well. When brain function drops far enough, the systems that keep you awake and responsive stop working. Then deeper systems start to struggle. The systems that help regulate breathing. The systems that help maintain circulation. The systems that keep the body coordinated enough to stay alive. Your breathing may become shallow or irregular. Your heart rhythm may become abnormal. Your blood pressure may fall. The body is trying to keep basic functions running, but the chemistry is against it. The heart is a major part of the problem now. It is not just a pump in the background. It is muscle tissue, and muscle tissue needs oxygen. So as carbon monoxide reduces oxygen delivery, the heart has to work harder while being supplied worse. That is a terrible trade. At first, it may beat faster to compensate. Later, the rhythm can become unstable. The electrical signals that normally keep the heartbeat organized can start misfiring. That can mean skipped beats, abnormal rhythms, weak circulation, and eventually not enough blood flow to keep the brain alive. The brain is also deteriorating. Neurons are extremely oxygen sensitive. When oxygen delivery drops far enough, brain activity becomes disorganized. That can cause confusion, collapse, seizures, coma, and eventually loss of the automatic control systems that keep breathing and circulation coordinated. This is why severe carbon monoxide poisoning is not just falling asleep. It may look quiet from the outside, but internally the two organs that keep you alive, the brain and the heart, are both losing the oxygen supply they need to function. The body is still trying to compensate. It is just running out of usable oxygen. At this stage, you do not experience death as one clean final moment. There usually isn't a clear thought like, this is it. By then, the brain functions needed to form that thought are already failing. Attention goes, memory goes, awareness goes. Then the automatic systems start failing too. A breath comes in. Another breath comes in. Then the pauses get longer. The breaths get weaker. The heart keeps trying to beat in an organized rhythm, but the muscle is oxygen starved. Eventually, breathing stops being effective. The heart can no longer maintain circulation. And then the body stops. That's what carbon monoxide poisoning can feel like. Not dramatic at first, not obvious, not some violent fight for air. You feel sick, you feel tired, you get confused, you make bad decisions because your brain is already affected. Then, if exposure continues, you lose consciousness. After that, you don't really experience the rest. Your body just fails. The scariest part is how normal the beginning feels. A headache, a little dizziness, some nausea, sleepiness. Nothing about that screams deadly gas. And if you're asleep, drunk, or otherwise impaired, you may not wake up enough to notice symptoms before it becomes fatal. So there you have it. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Your lungs still work, your heart still pumps, but your blood carries the wrong thing. And once your brain stops getting enough oxygen, the decision that could save you becomes harder and harder to make. But if you want to know what getting crucified actually feels like, click this video.